All right. Hello and welcome back. So today I'm going to talk about something that I want to clarify, and that is that we never use a torch to test things like a thermostat or temperature sensors, and I'm going to explain why. So the reason why we never test them in that scenario is because they never go in that scenario. You never test anything outside of the parameters that it operates in, or you're not going to find out anything. I might find out that it opens at 700 degrees, but does the engine ever run at 700 degrees? No. The only time you could use that is a pyrometer, but even then, because you can read all the way up to 1500 really, but 16, 17, those won't generally cut in on the pyro gauges though, depending on how they're set up for several hundred degrees. So let's just say that if I was to use something or test a thermostat, I would go here to the sensing bulb on the bottom right. This one's made for a Humvee, so this goes facing the radiator, and it even says facing the radiator on the side. All right, it's dummy proof. But if you can't tell, the easiest way to tell is that sensing bulb always faces the engine, because what happens is when the coolant heats it up, it allows for a path of flow. Now, if I was to test this with a torch and put it at 700 degrees, it's very likely that I can canter the spring inside there and bind it, or I can damage the fact that sensing bulb is only ever meant to operate within there. I can damage it by overheating it. So the best way to test something like this, obviously, is in something like a pot of boiling water. I set the thermostat in there, and I set a thermometer, and I watch the measure of open and close based on that thermometer. That way I know, oh, well, okay, so it was not opening all the way, and I can prove that now. So I've seen people test brand new thermostats with a torch, and I just think, gosh, I was taught not to by the manufacturers of these engines, because they see people do things, so they make things part of their training regimen to try to mitigate those things that people do. And the people who go and certify for the dealers at Cummins or whatever, they're really put through updated classes, and things that they've noticed within their engineering department are a fail on the mechanics side, usually just from lack of knowledge. So this is something I'm just informing you about. I wouldn't do it. It's not a good practice, and I would never test anything outside of the parameters of the environment it stays in. Like a boost pressure sensor, what would be the point of testing it up to 100 pounds? Nothing, right? All I'm going to do is make that transducer work outside of a range it's ever seen, and quite possibly fail the part. So when I do that, I need to regulate how many pounds of pressure, whatever the pressure is for that boost system. Same thing being here. If I'm looking at coolant temp sensor, a lot of these must be submerged, and then you take your readings. And that's a reason for that, because this is part of the circuit. So I said that in that temp sensor video, and I don't really want to beat a dead horse here about and I don't really come out here to say people are teaching wrong, but if people teach wrong and I don't say anything, I feel like I can say the right thing and teach you guys why it's right, as opposed to using a torch is faster, sure, but build a customer for the time. You're in a fact-finding mission to find out why that semi doesn't normally operate, or why it normally operates 10, 15 degrees hotter. You need to do these diagnostic processes. If they ask you to just replace the thermostats, that's fine, cut and dry, it's the job. Save the old ones, all right, and give them back to the customer, and or test them, or but prove. If you're the one telling him it needs thermostats, you should be able to prove that by saying that at 204 degrees, it's still completely closed. So that's why it's taking longer to manage your temperatures, or they're not managing as efficiently as they should. I do want to talk about something just for drivability and performance sake, and that is that if I have a thermostat and I'm pulling hills, and even if everything is at its most efficient, if this thing doesn't open all the way, I will get normal and hotter operating temperatures under that load. Now, let's say that it is partially open all the time. That means I'm going to run colder all the time, because I'm constantly circulating coolant to the radiator instead of checking it at the engine until it's at operating temperature, and then opening it up and allowing it to circulate over here. As we can see, we have a little fan illustration, but there's both sides of that spectrum can affect the engine differently. So when you have a cold running engine, it's not going to combust the fuel correctly, right? Because normal operating temperature is what the engineers look at when they look at peak combustion. So that's a few things to think about. I did want to mention one other tool to you guys. This tool is for clipping nails, right, on a dog. But I've utilized this to go in and grab bundles of wires where zip ties are around them, and clip the zip tie by hooking it around and clipping it so that I don't cut wires trying to go with like a diagonal cutter or something like that. All right, I did want to show you guys also I wasn't lying. I've had 2 of these. These were marked for a garage sale. These do work really well on very small gauge wires. You can see here, right? This is a 2022 probably, and it doesn't strip any of the copper from there. So those are okay for that. But once you get anything bigger, they're not really the bee's knees. I did want to show you that I do have a set of these, and if you get into really small stuff, I've found that these ones work really well to be consistent with. Okay, so I thank you for your time, guys, and stay tuned for the next video. Have a good day.